this is our approach of how do we set up the organization. We break down into the 3 areas, what we call corporate, functional, and digital layer. Because many times what we have seen the mistakes, I would say that we have digitalization team set up, but then they become a very tech-focused organization. Then we have the corporate team, which we're talking like high strategy level. But the key organizational layer, which we miss many times, is the functional layer. Again, I mentioned to some of you during last night that we want to make sure the functional people take the ownership of transformation, right? And if you look at the value each of the function brings, whether the digital people, they are focusing on how to evaluate the right technology and decide whether to build versus buy, or how do we manage the cash flow of technology part of it. And if I simplify the language also, that it's as important as it is how to code, but it is even more important what to code. And the what to code comes from the functional people. So this is how we also make sure that the organized structure is set up in a way that a typical organization will have 8-10 functions. Each of them have different role. Like I said, functional people, you take the ownership of driving digitalization, right? Then comes the use case part of it. Use case refers to all the wonderful ideas which you want to address as organization, but how do you put them into certain order of be able to decide what to do, when to do, and how to do, right? So how do we do that? It's basically a little bit heavy slide, but let me just quickly explain that what we work with the organization. We host, as a part of the process, a lot of workshops, which require heavy on the functional knowledge part of it. So begin with, let's understand the process we're trying to transform. Could the process be simply changed or improved by re-engineering, redesign, right? Not everything needs a chip or AI. So once we look at all the process detailing, then we look at, okay, now the new streamline process could be digitized, right? Whether it's simple AI tool or RPA tool or whatever. After that, we look at the detailed assessment of the usual project planning, assessment, skills, capabilities, everything. And then finally, let's pull the partners together to solve it, right? And that process also we decide build versus buy, test it out, and repeat, right? So that's how we approach the first part of defining what a smart factory is. How does it look like? Just giving some idea at a high level. So we have created simple method and tool, right? Simply like this is part of the activity which we did with the customer, right? To let's look at the problem, let's define the problem, what's the impact which you have, and let's create a simple qualification criteria. Because this customer is just one plant, we had 40 problems to solve, right? And 9 plants become 300 problems, imagine. So we need to prioritize those problems, like I said, to make sure that we impact. The reason we did that also to engage the users, first of all, the functional leaders, right? Second part is them to also know what they're asking is not simple, it's a sound. So the involvement of them in the process of digitalization is very critical, and is one of the activity which we do as a part of the detailing. So after that, we did a lot more detailing to make sure that what we call this use case mapping of the digitalization problems, right? So the idea was that we have problems. If the problem is worth solving, assign a project, but there should not be a project which is there because there is no problem. So think of a simple matrix, right? Many times we do a lot of ideation activity, but there's no problem. What are we solving? We have also introduced some simple methods to help functional people come on board. So in the picture, just to give you a context here, the functional people and the digitalization people coming together to define the project specification. Because we need to, again, as I mentioned, the functional people need to take the ownership of digitalization, but they don't need to know how to code, but they need to provide what to code. So this kind of simple, innovative canvas we have created is to help create that engagement between the two teams, provide the on-the-job training, and then finally, hopefully, we make lesser mistakes, lesser iteration in the process, right? So these are the few innovative activities which we have applied, which work pretty well for our customers. As I mentioned, that your plant operator today versus plant operator 10 years later, what are the right digital skills they need to learn, when they need to learn, how much they need to learn, make sure that you have the method. We have it, so we help the partners and the customers to map those skills, align with the digitalization roadmap. You don't want to overlearn and underlearn in the process. Overlearn means you're just wasting the time to learn something which you don't need. Underlearn, you have something ready, but you cannot use. So make sure that you map those things also. So my simple message is, I love this movie, Guardians of the Galaxies. The Guardians are supposed to save the galaxies. So same here, that make sure that you build your digital champions to save the digitalization rather than going in silo. And hopefully we can drive it even better. So with that, the key takeaway, I always say that data is a new oil, true, but let's focus on how to build a good oil well, which are nothing but 5 stages, right? Make sure that you identify the right oil, rent a rig, the right partners, drill a hole, do a simple pilot, run casing and cementing, make it strengthen, and then finally run your completion. So my message is, don't just go with the data as a new oil, it is, but focus on how to build a good oil well. So that's what I leave the message for you here with me, right? So hopefully we can help you to build the digital blueprint as we call. So this is actually one of our customer, could be you or could be the partners.